Can you please speak to this?
She essentially says, nearly all traditions speak of life after death. To me, this seems like an idea the ego would invent to support itself. Could the entire concept be a narrative lie created by the ego? Maybe our consciousness only exists embodied and becomes completely extinct at death. Let's hear what her guru has to say in response.
Right, a very profound question. The ultimate answers. Reincarnation, of course, there are many traditions that speak of reincarnation, and it's always good to just, whenever you are asked a question, speak from your own experience or realization, and this is what I am also going to do mostly.
Okay, he will answer her based on his own experience, and that is to be expected from an enlightened person.
The first thing to discover experientially is, as I've said before, it sounds a little strange, is that you are essentially invisible. You, not only what I can see of you is the body, and sometimes I may be able to see certain things in your mental emotional field. I can hear words that you speak or your facial expressions. I'm talking to everybody, not just to Tina, but I can see facial expressions that kind of give me a hint of what you're feeling or thinking. But anybody who was looking for you in the realm of physicality would not find you.
Well, now he is describing his own state, the state of someone who is enlightened. But the question is about what happens after death to ordinary people. Those ordinary people are not pure consciousness as he supposedly is at this moment.
And if that's too much, let's just go for a moment to, let's talk about, this perhaps makes sense to anybody who has a dog or a cat at home. When your dog or cat dies, which can be a very sad thing for people, and we come to humans later, it might be a little bit easier to start with the dog or cat. You may realize in that moment when suddenly the dog is dead or the cat is dead, but everything is still there, the fur, the body, there may even be some warmth left in the body, and there it is. But that which you essentially loved and related to in the dog or the cat isn't there anymore. So you can still, the touch is still the same, but something essentially is gone, and that was always invisible.
Mr. Eckhart goes even further and uses cats and dogs as an analogy for the state of pure consciousness that has left the body of a deceased pet. I do not discriminate against animals, but I find it unusual that after death, every organism experiences merging with the invisible essence of life. But let's continue.
What you love in the dog is ultimately, or the dog, you might love the way the dog looks and what it does, but when you relate to a dog, you essentially love, although nobody might have actually expressed it like that consciously, you love the consciousness of the dog. That's what you love in the dog. And when you look into the eyes of the dog, what's looking back at you is there's a consciousness of the dog looking back at you. And when that's gone, the dog is, and same with the human. What you love in a human is the consciousness of the other human.
Mr. Eckhart says that what looks back at us from the eyes of a pet is pure consciousness. He must have a pet that is enlightened, just like him. And then, when they look at each other, it is just two consciousnesses gazing at one another. But what was it that looked from the eyes of the pet that attacked its owner? How many dogs, cats, chimpanzees, and other pets have attacked and disfigured their owners? But we won't mention these unenlightened pets, trapped in their own ego consciousness.
No, you yourself, all that is invisible, because consciousness is the greatest mystery in the universe that science still has no idea what to do with it, cannot explain consciousness, and in most cases avoids talking about consciousness.
Here I agree that science knows nothing about what lies beyond the physical.
The greatest mystery is the fact that the universe is conscious.
To what level of the universe does he attribute consciousness? Are the sun, the moon, black holes, planets, dark matter, dark energy, rocks, oceans, and so on conscious? If so, what is the evidence for that?
And that you are conscious. A surgeon looking for you by cutting open your skull and analyzing your brain will not find even a trace of you, will not even find any of your countless hundreds of thousands or million memories that you have somewhere. In what form does a memory survive in you? Is the memory of your first teacher at school? I just mentioned the word and suddenly an image of the first teacher you had at school comes to you. The memory of your grandmother who passed away, the memory of the bed that you slept in when you were 8 or 10 years old. I just need to mention it. It was somewhere, but where did that live in you? Was that in a molecule or an atom? The one atom was your bed? Or what is it? Nobody knows, and nobody can find even the memories that you make up the person that you are, even on that level, let alone the deeper level of the unconditioned consciousness.
Memory is also possessed by a computer and by the phone you use. Memory can be produced and stored on a physical medium, and once that medium is destroyed, the memory it contained also disappears. Therefore, his argument that human memory is proof of non-physical levels is a weak one. The example of those suffering from brain injuries or illnesses, who then have problems with memory, is sufficient evidence. Therefore, using memory as the cornerstone of an argument for a consciousness independent of the brain is, from a neuroscientific perspective, fundamentally flawed. It inadvertently provides some of the best evidence for the physical basis of mind.
Nobody can find you there. You don't exist in the realm of the visible, and not just the deepest essence, even as a person, even the person that you are, which is a mental emotional construct or entity, even mind and emotion, you cannot find a thought as a material form. So this is why the downloading, as some science fiction predictions, downloading your mind into a computer, I don't think that's going to happen. It's an interesting idea, but it's not going to happen.
Here I agree with Mr. Eckhart, and in my book E.T. Praxis Life Manual, I have explained why downloading human consciousness into a machine will never be possible. You can find the link to my book in the description below. The book is free, and you are welcome to download it.
You don't even know what a thought is. Nobody knows, and it doesn't exist in the realm of the visible. So you are essentially invisible. Now that you can sense that you are essentially invisible, the moment there's a cessation in the stream of thinking, and all that remains is, even though the thought is already invisible, but if you go a little deeper, there's the consciousness. And you cannot see it, taste it, touch it.
I find it interesting how Mr. Eckhart goes directly to pure consciousness, completely missing the fact that the physical level and the transcendental level of pure consciousness are not the only layers we consist of. Between these two layers exist many others that are crucial for what awaits us after death.
Now the important question that arises, is this consciousness a product of the physical brain? Is it produced by the physical brain? Is it possible that the physicality of the brain, which is on one level chemistry, on a deeper level atoms and molecules, so on the chemical level, the chemical soup that makes up the brain, can the physicality produce something non-physical that is consciousness? Or is the entire consciousness an illusion, as some scientists say, it's an illusion that the chemical soup is having? Who knows that? Who is the one that knows that the chemical soup is having an illusion?
Now, instead of explaining what happens to us after death, he wants to explain the law of the conservation of energy. It is clear that energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed from one form to another. It is quite clear that no part of us can cease to exist, and that we continue our existence after death. The only question is, in what form? But let's continue listening to the guru. Perhaps he will finally explain it to us now.
It's getting very complex now. Is consciousness an epiphenomenon? That's a fancy word for byproduct. Is consciousness an epiphenomenon of the brain, the physical brain? Or undoubtedly there's a connection between the physical brain, physicality and consciousness, because you can knock somebody out, or somebody could give me a substance that makes me unconscious, or I could fall suddenly on my head and stop talking. Is that proof that consciousness is produced by the brain? Would it be proof if I smash the TV, that whatever you have been watching, or let's say the radio, I don't know if people still have radios, if I smashed the radio, which had been playing the Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, and suddenly Beethoven's Ninth Symphony disappears. And then I say, this is proof that the radio produces the music.
As usual, Mr. Eckhart answers every question with a story about consciousness. Whether you ask him about sex, politics, money, healing, death, or anything else, he will skillfully turn the answer into a discussion about consciousness. Poor Tina, who asked this question. I think that after the guru's explanation, she is now more confused than before. The main conclusion of his entire story is that consciousness is not created by the brain but merely transmitted by it, implying it is independent of the physical body, so its fate after death remains an open question. However, she didn't ask him what happens to consciousness after death, but rather what will happen to her after death. She is not enlightened. She has not become pure consciousness. She doesn't even know that her higher self is pure consciousness. Yet he persistently talks to her about a part of herself that is unknown to her in life and will remain unknown after death. Unfortunately, Eckhart has no idea that a human being possesses not only a physical body, but also a mental body, and that death is only the end of the physical body, while the mental body continues its existence. This mental body is often called the energy, or astral body. We won't argue over the details here. The point is that after death, we continue our existence in the mental body. The mental body is a copy of the physical body, but made of astral energy. We are in this body every time we sleep and dream. Anyone who masters their dreams understands the afterlife and knows what happens after death. During my own astral travels, I have deliberately searched for and found loved ones who have passed. There was little difference between their appearance in life and their appearance now. They often appear even more beautiful in form than they were in life. I regularly visit my deceased parents, and, of course, assist them in the astral world. The reason why Guru Eckhart knows nothing of these matters is clear to me, and I will explain it in one of my future videos. Guru Eckhart said he would speak from his own experience, but did not mention whether he remembers any of his past lives. It is well known that a person who attains nirvana, cosmic consciousness, remembers all their past lives. The Buddha spoke of this, as do gurus who have attained nirvikalpa samadhi. Mr. Eckhart should not have mentioned Buddhism as a teaching that speaks of reincarnation, because if he were truly enlightened, he would know about reincarnation firsthand. Unfortunately, we got nothing concrete from Mr. Eckhart except for a story about pure consciousness, which apparently cats and dogs also possess. But we fools just can't seem to grasp that we are pure consciousness.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
Mr. Eckhart says we are essentially invisible, and that in all things we love this invisible part of an individual, not their body or emotions. Here he is mistaken. Cats, dogs, and even plants have subtle bodies and remain in them after death.
None of those who have not fully dissolved the energetic sheaths around consciousness return to the source after death. Everyone continues to be a separate entity, just as they were in life. These entities are not an illusion. They are distinct individuals who need help. Your loved one who died has not merged with cosmic consciousness after death, but continues to exist as an individual. To think they have disappeared and that we now love only some impersonal essence is wrong. They are still individuals, just as we will be after our death, unless we attain nirvana in this life now. Your deceased loved ones are still persons, and they can be helped. However, you will not receive guidance on how to help your deceased loved ones from gurus like Eckhart Tolle. From him you will only get more confusion, because he is not someone who has attained nirvana, but rather someone whose kundalini is likely stuck in the heart, or possibly the throat chakra. True guidance comes from those who have direct experience with the afterlife, through astral travel or the attainment of nirvana, not from philosophical speculation about an invisible consciousness. Finally, if I were to give his answer a grade from 1 to 10, it would be a 2. But the real question is for you. How would you grade Eckhart's philosophical response versus my practical one as Maitreya? Let me know in the comments,